The third type of equations we need to learn in this chapter is the equations with these radical signs. For example, let's take a look at this equation. Suppose x minus 2 root x minus 8 is equal to 0. In this equation, we can let y to be equal to square root of x. And now this one is a quadratic equation in y. That means I should know that y squared minus 2y minus 8 is equal to 0. And now I can solve for y. I know that y minus 4 times y plus 2 is equal to 0. And that means y is equal to 4 or minus 2. However, I should reject this minus 2 because root x is always positive. It cannot be minus 2. That means now I know that root x is equal to 4, which means x is equal to 16. Besides this method, we can also consider the method of squaring the both sides. That means this equation can become something like this. We can put everything with the radical sign on one hand. That means we can say that 2 root x is equal to x minus 8. And now we can square both sides, which means we do something like this. And now I should know that 4x is equal to x squared minus 16x plus 64. And now this is a quadratic equation in x, and I can solve it. Now this can be solved by the factor method. That means x minus 16 times x minus 4 should be equal to 0. And now I should know that x can either be 16 or 4. And in this situation, we should know that we need to reject this number 4. The reason in this case is quite difficult to understand. Here, this number 4 is the root of the equation after squaring, but not our original equation. That means if I substitute this 4 back into our original equation, the left hand side will become 2 times root 4. The whole thing should be equal to 4. And for the right hand side, it will be equal to 4 minus 8. Now the whole thing is minus 4. And 4 is not equal to minus 4. That means this number 4 cannot satisfy our original equation, and we should reject this. Let's take a look at another example. Here, we cannot solve this by substituting y to be something in terms of x. And therefore, in this equation, we have to use the method of squaring the both sides. Here, we should know that x minus 5 is equal to root 2x plus 5. And now we can square both sides. Finally, it becomes x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 2x plus 5. And again, we should express this in the general form. That means the result should be x minus 10 times x minus 2 equals 0. Now I should know that x should either be 10 or 2. And again, in this question, we should reject one of these results, and this time we should reject this number 2. The reason is that if I substitute these 2 back into our original equation, we should find that this number cannot satisfy this equation. That means if I let x to be 2, then the left-hand side of our original equation would become 2 minus square root 9. And this is 2 minus 3, which is equal to minus 1. However, for the right-hand side, this is equal to 5, and left-hand side is not equal to the right-hand side, and that's why this result should be rejected.